We just watched Space Jam: A New Legacy. Hoofa.
The semi-sequel?
The reboot / sequel / we want to say we made a first one, but we don't really know how to incorporate it into the second movie.
Let's call it a soft reboot. Because
sequel, but you know,
because it follows, it takes certain elements of the plot of the first one, but it doesn't have like. There's not really acknowledgement, really, except for like winks and nods.
It's a sequel where everyone has amnesia.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what. It's pretty much what's going on.
So we just, we revisited Space Jam earlier in the week because it had been a while since we watched it. Because we just wanted to,
sure, in
case it was a direct sequel, which it's not.
It's not.
But in a lot of ways, follows a lot, especially like early on, follows some of the same footsteps. Where the opening credits is sort of like a LeBron montage. It's just not 100,000 minutes long like the Michael Jordan one is. And it introduces, like, let's say, LeBron's family early on, which isn't his real family, but it's close enough. And this is a movie that you're reading reviews for before the movie comes out. You're like, man, this is getting a lot of hate.
It's getting a lot of hate.
You get to thinking, as two people that just
it's at what now? It's like 54, probably lower than that.
No, man, it's at like a 34 or 35.
It's at a 30,
something like that. Yeah, it's kind of low, man. Yeah.
Did people watch the same movie we did?
It's one of those things where you see these reviews, and
did they watch the same movie?
And if you're comparing it to the first one, or saying like, it's just not as good as the first one.
I just want to know.
Here's what you got to look at. The first one we just rewatched. Technically not a good movie. Like, it's really not. It's not a good movie. It doesn't make sense. It's otherworldly bizarre. It is an 84-minute commercial. You look at this one.
Sure. This has got a 35 right now.
Yeah, so it's got that.
What is wrong with you people?
It's got a 35.
See, this right here, Caleb, is why reviews and reviewers and critics get bad raps.
They get bad raps sometimes.
There's been a few times. It's been a few times where they've been right on the
nose.
Right on the nose, and there's other times they are completely, utterly, unabashedly wrong.
It almost feels like the gang mentality where
it is,
where a movie starts to get bad reviews, and you don't want to say that you enjoyed a movie because it has a lot of product placement for the specific product it's whoring out, which is HBO Max.
That's exactly what I was going to say. This
has essentially every Warner Brothers property that you could imagine in it.
Literally.
But let me defend this for a second. The way that they incorporate it into the plot makes sense. Yeah. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go as far as this. This movie, in every way possible, I think is better and makes more sense than the original. I'm just gonna lay down some things for you.
Number one,
LeBron, way better actor than Michael. Like LeBron's still not that good.
He's still not good in this movie.
But my gosh, he's delivering something.
Yeah.
The family dynamic. There's actually something to hold on to. There's something to connect to with the family. The family is The family is actually a crucial part. The villain. You got the villain, Don Cheadle, is actually kind of incredible, actually.
Okay, here's the thing. He's
kind of incredible.
Here's the thing about Don Cheadle. I did not like Don Cheadle until the third act of this film.
He got better in the third act.
The third act of this film, when he is able to just be funny, cold, deadpan Don Cheadle, that is.
I liked him by the second act, but
yes,
but I liked him as a villain more than Danny DeVito. Don Cheadle's actually,
he's in the movie.
He's actually in the movie quite a bit.
4.
Are we on 4? Or was that 4? Doesn't matter.
4 or 5.
Numbers don't matter because the movie don't make sense, so it don't matter.
I mean, it kind of does.
Okay,
it kind of makes more sense than the first film.
So the way that they, like we were saying, the way that they incorporate the Warner Brothers properties.
Yes.
That also plays into the plot and how LeBron and, let's say, his son. It's not a spoiler. It's about LeBron and his son. Get sucked into the this Warner Brothers verse or whatever.
The serververse.
The
serververse.
In that
AKA HBO Max.
In that sense, it's kind of like Ready Player One.
Sure.
Where it kind of plays out like a video game, which, you know what, whatever, it's kind of fun.
But here's the thing, though. Is that a spoiler, the video game thing? Is that a spoiler?
I don't know.
Would that be considered a spoiler?
I don't know if that's in the marketing.
It doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter. This movie, literally, the basketball game is NBA Jam.
It's a lot like NBA Jam.
It's NBA Jam. I personally love that. It made more sense in this capacity than it did in the first films.
Yeah, so in that way, when you get to the actual game, the game is complete madness,
right? Which is what the first one.
The first one's complete madness, but they don't establish that.
Yeah, they're just
not going. They're not going with the actual basketball rules. This one's like comes out of the gate saying like, hey, it's like
there's no rules.
Anything goes.
None. Anything goes. No rules.
So, like we were saying, the plot of the movie and how LeBron gets to point A to point B makes a lot more sense than Michael Jordan putting his hand inside of a golf hole and getting sucked down into Looney Tunes land. So, yeah,
6.
All that stuff, let's say, I recognize that animation by default is going to be better, but it's better. This movie has some really innovative and creative animation in it, particularly in that entire second act, because it's mostly hand-drawn animation. And we got an entire sequence where characters have to... Bugs has to go bring back the old gang,
get the Toon Squad,
and
together.
They're all in different Warner Brothers properties, and you got like a Wally,
which is arguably the best part of the movie.
Maybe,
which is arguably the best part of the movie.
So you got Wally Coyote and Roadrunner and Mad Max Fury Road.
Yes.
Literally,
in Mad Max Fury Road.
You got Austin Powers. You got Matrix. You got honestly, I love
the Justice League.
Yeah, you got the
DC, animated Justice League.
Actually loved the Wonder Woman sequence, the animation.
Yes,
like the animation. Cool. I think the Matrix one is the weakest because it makes the least amount of sense. But whatever, still some decent visuals.
That's cool.
So there's some really cool stuff there visually because the whole entire second act of this movie is hand-drawn animation. I know they're not marketing it that way.
Yeah.
But the whole second act is hand-drawn animation where you get to the third act, it does become more of this 3D world, and that's when it becomes a little bit overload with which not in a bad way necessarily. There's just so many Warner Brothers characters in the background. You're like you have to pause the movie, and I know a lot of people look at it as a negative, but I didn't find it that distracting. Every once in a while,
cool.
You'll catch some things. You'll catch Mr. Freeze. You'll catch the Mask. You'll catch some Game of Thrones characters. Yeah. I mean, there's just infinite amounts.
If there is a Warner Brothers character, the Iron Giants in this movie,
Iron Giant, King Kong,
Dino, the Flintstones are in this movie.
Yeah, listen,
the freaking Gremlins are in this movie. For God's sake,
there's a lot.
There's a lot,
and even
I listen. Honestly,
I kind of like this movie.
I kind of like this movie too.
And I'm not going to sit here and defend this movie by saying like, oh yeah, it's a really good movie.
It's not. It's not a good movie.
It's stupid, just like the first one. It's very stupid. But all these things I'm mentioning, like, how can I not say that it's better whenever it's better at nearly everything?
Yeah.
Like the movie, we for some reason we had to pause at 25 minutes in. And you were pretty down on it.
I was pretty down on it. First act is not good.
And I wasn't necessarily showing my hand, but I was willing to give it a chance. I recognize that the movie starts off awkward. But through that awkwardness, it is at least trying to give you more character development in the family than the Michael Jordan stuff. Even though it is awkward. Whereas the first one, when it gets to the Looney Tunes stuff, is when I stopped liking as much. I actually think the Looney Tunes are truly like the Looney Tunes in this movie.
Yes. Yeah.
So this critic mentality of this being like this being an quote unquote airball. Like I've seen, whenever you see quotes like it's like this does not match the sophistication and the meta-ness of the first Space Jam. Like what are you?
What are you watching?
Like that movie is not
Space Jam. This movie is not the Schindler's List.
It's not good, but
just like Space Jam 1 was.
But yeah, by the time you get to the second act, there are funny lines. There's funny visual gags. I think literally the only thing the first movie has on this, aside from Michael Jordan being a better basketball player, which shouldn't matter in terms of acting, is the soundtrack's better. That's it.
Like the soundtrack in the first movie is better.
The soundtrack really, except for maybe a couple songs, there's nothing special about the soundtrack, which is whatever, because it is more focused on, believe it or not, the storytelling aspect.
Yeah.
But not the greatest story. Not a story that makes the most sense, but at least there's
the first one didn't make no sense either.
There's a little bit more of an effort, and there's only really maybe one or two things that I hate in this movie, like despise. And there's a scene they released before the movie of Porky Pig rapping, and I think that it's abysmal. But that kind of ends on kind of a funny joke. I'm not gonna lie, it ends on kind of a funny joke. But the rap itself, it felt like a Warner Brothers executive. It's like, we got to put this in here to relate to the kids. The kids want this.
Yeah.
And I got a feeling that the actual writers were like, we don't want this.
We don't want that here. We don't want that here.
But to go against that, I'd say right before that, there is an amazing cameo is one of the better and more clever cameos I've seen in a movie.
That was literally my favorite part of this whole movie.
It is the standout of the movie. You don't want to spoil it, but
laugh.
Yeah. So,
sorry,
this is a hard movie to critique for me because
but it's not though. It's not a hard movie.
It's hard for me to not. But
it's not. It's not a hard movie. The reason why it's not a hard movie is because critics are wrong with this. They're wrong.
I think that they're wrong.
They're wrong.
But I have to remember this whenever I'm looking at this movie. I love basketball. There are a lot of basketball.
There is a lot of basketball references.
So while critics want to say it's like, oh no, it's whoring out HBO Max, like not
necessarily.
Just that. There are a lot of basketball, like a lot of obscure basketball references, and I'm pretty sure I caught all of them.
Yeah,
like I was like, yeah, that's great. Also, I like LeBron. He's on my team. I didn't like LeBron for the longest time, but around 2015, he gained my respect when he lost in the finals and averaged like a triple-double because he had no help. I was like, you know what? This dude is kind of the real deal. So I like LeBron.
Well, I said in the very beginning of watching this movie, like, I'm not a huge LeBron James fan, but he's good. He's good, y'all.
Also,
like, I'm tired of hearing about him, but he is good. He's the best right now. Yeah. Sorry, he's the best.
So aside from the basketball references, and you got the HBO Max stuff and the Warner Brothers, there's also a lot of clever references to properties that aren't just there to be commercialized. There's a lot of clever stuff. So it is essentially a pop culture like iFest. And you know what? I kind of like that.
I've never seen the movie, but it kind of reminded me of like Wreck-It Ralph with Disney.
It reminded me of Wreck-It Ralph Break the Internet, the second one.
Yeah. I haven't seen those movies, but just from seeing the trailer.
Shockingly, that movie has great reviews.
Yeah. So,
and like that movie is just a little bit better than this.
I think honestly,
it's just a little bit better.
Honestly,
than
this. In a sense, sometimes do believe also that it is the cool thing for critics to do to just crap on Warner Brothers.
Sometimes,
have you noticed that? It's like I've noticed this ever since the DC movies have come out. Yeah. And I'm not a fan of the DC movies.
Most of them are very good.
They're not. I don't personally care for DC other than some of the stuff that I have actually watched
Shazam.
and enjoyed.
Yeah.
Right. But since DC started doing their extended universe, whatever you want to call it, critics have been super, super harsh on Warner Brother properties here lately. They really have.
Some rightfully so.
Some rightfully so, but then some something like this, you're like, you're just poking the bear to get a headline.
It's almost a movie that was doomed to fail because you got these critics that are like uppity about product placement. Then you got critics that don't like LeBron James because of what he stands for politically. Yeah. So like if you're going to incorporate that into your reviews, it's like don't even review the movie. Yep. It's stupid. Like I don't know. Yeah, it's a movie that I went into with complete open mind. It's a movie that it's not like I would go into movies wanting to dislike movies. Like I want to like every movie that I watch. And this one was never boring. It was always fun. No. Even through stuff that wasn't necessarily funny, there's always some interesting visuals.
I think to me, the movie, once it finally got its footing, after that first 25 minutes, like when we actually go into Toonland or whatever it was called in the movie, that's when it picked up. The first act of this movie, you gotta make it through that first act. Yeah. Which I think if you're watching it at home on HBO Max, I think that will be a problem for some people. Like, for some people that don't have children.
Yeah.
They don't have children. Because this movie is marketed toward kids. That's just all there is to it. It's marketed toward kids, but if you're a basketball fan, you're going to like this movie. Because the whole second and third act of this movie is just basketball, pretty much. It's literally anything that you can think of when it comes to basketball, they're doing in it.
Yeah, basketball references.
And basketball references, the way they play, the way they're... new school versus old school type stuff. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I thought it was good.
And while it feels definitely like a niche movie, like, kids aren't going to care. Kids are going to like the movie. No. And certain adults are going to like the movie. Yeah. So
I think fans of the first movie, people that are die-hard defend the first movie, they don't love this movie. They don't love it.
You think that, but I still think some people cannot let go of their hatred for LeBron. To the point where, like, well, he didn't beat the Monstars. Like, this competition was a little better than the Monstars, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that, the way they incorporate the Goon Squad, which is more organic than the Monstars.
Yeah.
So,
honestly, you know what's funny is that when we watched this one, I forgot how they did it in the first movie. So I didn't really make that connection when we were watching how they took the skills from the other players. This one makes way more sense.
And also, not just LeBron being a better actor. I know that it's mostly just the NBA and WNBA players doing voice acting in this movie, but yeah, they're way better actors than the other than Charles and Patrick Ewing.
But the thing about it is that LeBron, through half of the movie, he's voice acting. Actually, he's a 2D animated character.
His voice acting is actually pretty good. Whenever he's voice acting, it's better than whenever it's just
him on screen. Yeah, and that's what I noticed. I was like, oh, they're going to hide some of LeBron's acting difficulties by making him a 2D animated.
You don't have to see his facial reaction. You just hear his voice, and he actually kind of delivered on that.
Yeah, so that was a smart way to hide and shield LeBron's acting ability as far as not being a flaw, which, hate to say it, but we may have looked at Space Jam 1 differently if they would have done Michael with 2D. But I can understand what they were trying to do.
I still feel like he wouldn't have tried.
Probably
I truly believe LeBron tried in this movie. I truly believe LeBron's passionate about this movie, regardless if he's actually good or not. Yeah, that's all I got to say. I enjoyed this. I'm not going to sit around and say that it's a good movie.
Well, no.
But if I was a Rotten Tomatoes critic, I would give it the fresh tomato just to stop the dog piling. I mean, geez, it's way better than that.
It's ridiculous.
I'm gonna give. I gave the first one a C. Mm-hmm. I'm giving this one a C plus. Actually, I liked it. I'm not saying I'm gonna run back and watch it again, but if the opportunity showed itself, I wouldn't. I'd watch it again.
Yep. I'm going to give this movie a B minus.
Higher score than me.
I honestly thought that this one was 1,000 times better than the first one once it got rolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think this movie was a lot better than It blew my expectations away once it got rolling.
After the past week hearing about it, it's way better than what I've been hearing about. What I was expecting.
I totally expected it to be a complete utter craptastic. This was going to be a hilariosity review for Chris Stuckman, but no. I think this movie is enjoyable for anybody that goes in and watches it. Even if you don't really know the game of basketball, you will go into this movie and enjoy it because there's enough, especially if you love physical comedy.
Oh yeah,
like if you are a fan of
Daffy
physical,
Duck and Marvin Martian,
if you're a huge fan of that old school Looney Tunes, physical comedy, you're gonna love this movie.
Yeah.
So
you saying all that, I'm actually going to change my score to B minus. That makes way more sense than a C plus. I think I was just giving a C plus if I could be fair. Where I gave the first one a C,
but this one's substantially better than the first one.
I know.
So that's what I'm basing it on.
I'm just trying to place some biases aside because it's catered more towards me. But yeah, it's a B minus. I gave the first
one a C plus.
I gave the first one a C out of sheer nostalgia. That movie's like a D plus or a C minus in reality.
Compared to this one, it's apples and oranges.
So I'm sorry. That's our thoughts. We enjoyed it for the most part.
Shocker.
We want to hear your all's thoughts. Will you continue the dog piling, or did you actually like it? Did you like the basketball references and all the crazy Warner Brothers references? Let us know in the comment section below. Hit that subscribe button, and thank you for watching.